the player does not try to make a hit, but touches the ball lightly, so that it lands on an area of the opponent's court that is not being covered by the defense. An underhand pass is allowed from any part of the court. The team that won the point serves for the next point. Type: team sport, net sport. Air Bud, Spikes Back, 2003. A sequel in the Air Bud series that shows the titular golden retriever playing volleyball. At elite levels, middle hitters are usually the tallest players, whose limited agility is countered by their height, enabling more effective blocks. There are a large number of other errors specified in the rules, although most of them are infrequent occurrences. Rally point scoring debuted in 2001, and games were played to 30 points through 2007. Before 1999, points could be scored only when a team had the serve, side-out scoring, and all sets went up to only 15 points. A ball passing over the net must pass completely between the antennae, or their theoretical extensions to the ceiling, without contacting them. Hitting the ball into the net was considered a foul, with loss of the point or a side-out, except in the case of the first try serve. 9 ounces, and an interior air pressure of 0. Attacker U. 1984. A Japanese anime about a junior high school girl playing volleyball after moving to Tokyo from the countryside. Prisoner ball, also played with volleyball court and a volleyball. Prisoner ball is a variation of Newcomb ball where players are taken prisoner or released from prison instead of scoring points. The opposing team must use a combination of no more than 3 contacts with the volleyball to return the ball to the opponent's side of the net. Volleyball in the Olympics. Successful blocking does not always result in a roof and many times does not even touch the ball. The court dimensions. For the beach team sport, see beach volleyball. The most common dumps are to throw the ball behind the setter or in front of the setter to zones 2 and 4. Each player rotates only one time after the team gains possession of the service. The next time each player rotates will be after the other team wins possession of the ball and loses the point. 3 players performing a block, A. The minimum height clearance for indoor volleyball courts is 7 m, 23. Off-speed hit, the player does not hit the ball hard, reducing its speed and thus confusing the opponent's defense. Each of these skills comprises a number of specific techniques that have been introduced over the years and are now considered standard practice in high-level volleyball. This allows middles and right sides to become more specialized at hitting and blocking. Mintonet was designed to be an indoor sport, less rough than basketball, for older members of the YMCA, while still requiring a bit of athletic effort. The setter is waiting for their pass while the middle hitter with no. Some specific techniques are more common in digging than in passing. Television. The FIVB changed the rules in 1999, with the changes being compulsory in 2000, to use the current scoring system, formerly known as rally point system, primarily to make the length of the match more predictable and to make the game more spectator and television friendly. If the ball is hit around, above, or through the block, the defensive players arranged in the rest of the court attempt to control the ball with a dig, usually a forearm pass of a hard-driven ball. The libero player was introduced internationally in 1998, and made its debut for NCAA competition in 2002. There is another advantage, the same as that of a 4-2 formation. As a front row player, the setter is allowed to jump and dump the ball onto the opponent's side. A player designated as a libero for a match may not play other roles during that match. Read. A Russian player on the left has just served, with 3 men of his team next to the net moving to their assigned block positions from the starting ones. The system will outline which players are responsible for which areas of the court depending on where the opposing team is attacking from. 4 consecutive contacts with the ball made by the same team. Standing topspin serves are rarely used above the high school level of play. Each team tries to score points by grounding a ball on the other team's court under organized rules. In 1917, the game was changed from requiring 21 points to win to a smaller 15 points to win. All You've Got, 2006, a TV movie starring hip-hop artist Sierra. The rules evolved over time. In 1916, in the Philippines, the skill and power of the set and spike had been introduced, and 4 years later a 3-hits rule and a rule against hitting from the back row were established. A cross-court shot with a very pronounced angle, resulting in the ball landing near the 3-meter line, is called a cut shot. The team with possession of the ball that is trying to attack the ball as described is said to be on offense. Beach volleyball was introduced to the program at the Atlanta 1996 Summer Olympics. This position does not have unique rules like the libero position. Instead, these players are used to substitute out a poor back row defender using regular substitution rules. Libero means free in Italian. They receive this name as they have the ability to substitute for any other player on the court during each play, usually the middle blocker. By aligning like positions opposite themselves in the rotation, there will always be one of each position in the front and back rows. The attack, also known as the spike, is usually the third contact a team makes with the ball. There are also several different attacking schemes teams can use to keep the opposing defense off balance. The typical lineup has 2 outside hitters. FIVB regulations state that the ball must be spherical, made of leather or synthetic leather, have a circumference of 65, 67 cm, 26 in, a weight of 260, 280 g, 9. A player makes a series of steps, the approach, jumps, and swings at the ball. 5, 1. The game continues in this manner, rallying back and forth until the ball touches the court within the boundaries or until an error is made. The team that wins the rally is awarded a point and serves the ball to start the next rally. The libero is, generally, the most skilled defensive player on the team. This can only be performed when the setter is in the front row, otherwise it constitutes an illegal backcourt attack. This version can also be played with blankets held by 4 people. Each team consists of 6 players. A player may sometimes perform a dive, However, not only does the 6-2 require a team to possess 2 people capable of performing the highly specialized role of setter, it also requires both of those players to be effective offensive hitters when not in the setter position. The 4-2 formation has 4 hitters and 2 setters. With transgender athletes such as Tiffany Aubro joining professional volleyball teams alongside other non-transgender teammates, many professionals, sports analysts, and fans of volleyball are either expressing concerns about the legitimacy and fairness of having transgender players on a team or expressing support for the transgender people's efforts. Team play. The ball is usually played with the hands or arms, but players can legally strike or push, short contact, the ball with any part of the body. There are also several different blocking schemes teams can employ to disrupt the opposing team's offense. In Brazil, this serve is called Jornada nas Estrelas, Star Trek. These contacts usually consist first of the bump or pass so that the ball's trajectory is aimed towards the player designated as the setter, second of the set, usually an overhand pass using wrists to push fingertips at the ball, by the setter so that the ball's trajectory is aimed towards a spot where one of the players designated as an attacker can hit it, and third by the attacker who spikes, jumping, raising one arm above the head and hitting the ball so it will move quickly down to the ground on the opponent's court, to return the ball over the net. Defensive systems are the formations used by the defense to protect against the ball being grounded into their court by the opposing team. The big advantage of this system is that the setter always has 3 hitters to vary sets with. The first rules, written down by William G. That rule change was also applied to high school and junior high play soon after. 2M, court, and any number of players. Glossary of volleyball. The 6-2 lineup thus requires 2 setters, who line up opposite to each other in the rotation. 3 to 318. Another indoor sport, basketball, was catching on in the area, having been invented just 10 miles, 16 kilometers, away in the city of Springfield, Massachusetts, only 4 years before. The miracle season, 2018. A team comes together after the death of their star player in hopes of winning the state championship. A player making a jump serve. The team will, therefore, have 3 front row attackers when the setter is in the back row and only 2 when the setter is in the front row, for a total of 5 possible attackers. There is also a libero tracking sheet, where the referees or officiating team must keep track of whom the libero subs in and out for. The libero may function as a setter only under certain restrictions. Popular formations include the 4-2, 6-2, and 5-1 systems. See formations below. The team may touch the ball up to 3 times to return the ball to the other side of the court, but individual players may not touch the ball twice consecutively. Throwball became popular with female players at the YMCA College of Physical Education in Chennai, India, in the 1940s. A pipe attack is when the center player in the back row attacks the ball. A controversy within the sport is the issue of the inclusion of transgender players. Executed by the 5 offensive players not directly attacking the ball, players move to assigned positions around the attacker to dig up any ball that deflects off the block back into their own court. Setters have the task for orchestrating the offense of the team. In case of a serving error, a second try was allowed. The jump should be timed so as to intercept the ball's trajectory prior to it crossing over the plane of the net. At some levels where substitutions are unlimited, teams will make use of a defensive specialist in place of or in addition to a libero. Since the former allows for more control over the speed and direction of the ball, the bump is used only when the ball is so low it cannot be properly handled with fingertips, or in beach volleyball where rules regulating overhand setting are more stringent. A block that is aimed at completely stopping an attack, thus making the ball remain in the opponent's court, is called offensive. Thus, all 6 players act as hitters at one time or another, while 2 can act as setters. Haikyuu 2014, a Japanese anime about a high school boys volleyball team striving to be the best in Japan. A few of the most common faults include: in this case, the setter usually jumps off their right foot straight up to avoid going into the net. 24m, 7 feet 4 plus 316 in, for women's competition, varied for veterans and junior competitions. Haruka no Receive, 2018, a Japanese anime about teen girls playing beach volleyball and having a match with other girls. The specific problem is too much unsourced information. Formations. Citation needed. The pancake is frequently used in indoor volleyball, but rarely if ever in beach volleyball because the uneven and yielding nature of the sand court limits the chances that the ball will make good, clean contact with the hand. Gameplay. Formations often include designated player positions with skill specialization. See player specialization below. Skills. The modern-day libero often takes on the role of a second setter. When the player also slides their hand under a ball that is almost touching the court, this is called a pancake set. This version is usually played by young children. JPG. Libero. Opposite hitters or right side hitters carry the defensive workload for a volleyball team in the front row. 2-9. In non-beginners play, there are again 2 outside hitters on every team in every match. Volleyball, a variation of volleyball played in a racquetball court with a rubber ball. There are several variations. 26-4. Throw their body in the air with a forward movement in an attempt to save the ball, and land on their chest. Morgan, a YMCA physical education director, created a new game called Mintonette, a name derived from the game of badminton, as a pastime to be played, preferably, indoors and by any number of players. 6-2. The official volleyball rules are prepared and updated every few years by the FIVB's Rules of the Game and Refereeing Commission. Most underhand serves are considered very easy to receive and are rarely employed in high-level competitions. The game took some of its characteristics from other sports such as baseball, tennis, and handball. Net foul, touching the net during play. Double quick hit /stack/tandem, a variation of quick hit where 2 hitters, one in front and one behind the setter or both in front of the setter, jump to perform a quick hit at the same time. 0 feet, although a clearance of 8 m, 26. During the 2016 Olympic Games in Rio de Janeiro, however, the sky ball serve was extensively played by Italian beach volleyball player Adrian Carambula. It can be used to deceive opposite blockers and free a fourth hitter attacking from backcourt, maybe without block at all. An attack is an attempt to direct the ball back over the net in such a way that the team receiving the ball is unable to pass the ball and continue the rally, thus, losing the point. In addition to the setters, a typical lineup will have 2 middle hitters and 2 outside hitters. In general, opposite hitters do not pass, they stand behind their teammates when the opponent is serving. The object of attacking is to handle the ball so that it lands on the opponent's court and cannot be defended. White is on the attack while red attempts to block. The 5-1 offense is actually a mix of 6-2 and 4-2. When the setter is in the front row, the offense looks like a 4-2. When the setter is in the back row, the offense looks like a 6-2. Sepak takraw, played in Southeast Asia using a rattan ball and allowing only players' feet, knees, chests, and heads to touch the ball. Scorers table just before a game. The sport is now popular in Brazil, in Europe, where especially Italy, the Netherlands, and countries from Eastern Europe have been major forces since the late 1980s, in Russia, and in other countries including China and the rest of Asia, as well as in the United States. By far the most popular of these is beach volleyball, which is played on sand with 2 people per team, and rivals the main sport in popularity. In 2008, the NCAA changed the minimum number of points needed to win any of the first 4 sets from 30 to 25 for women's volleyball. Men's volleyball remained at 30 for another 3 years, switching to 25 in 2011. This 3-meter, or 10-foot, line divides the court into back row and front row areas, also back court and front court. Variations and related games. Sometimes the player may also be forced to drop their body quickly to the floor to save the ball. In contemporary volleyball, many types of serves are employed. Towel volleyball. Towel volleyball is a popular form of outdoor entertainment. Volleyball rules were slightly modified by the International YMCA Training School and the game spread around the country to various YMCAs. 1915. The latest edition is usually available on the FIVB's website. Offensive systems are the formations used by the offense to attempt to ground the ball into the opposing court, or otherwise score points. The team on defense attempts to prevent the attacker from directing the ball into their court. Players at the net jump and reach above the top, and if possible, across the plane of the net to block the attacked ball. Volley squash, a form of volleyball played within a squash court or similar-sized enclosed space. The first official ball used in volleyball is disputed. Some sources say Spalding created the first official ball in 1896, while others claim it was created in 1900. Proper handling includes not only preventing the ball from touching the court but also making it reach the position where the setter is standing quickly and precisely. Newcomb ball, sometimes spelled Newcomb in this game, the ball is caught and thrown instead of hit. It rivaled volleyball in popularity until the 1920s. 2. If the team that won the point did not serve the previous point, the players of the team acquiring the serve rotate their position on the court in a clockwise manner. 43 m, 7 feet 11 plus 1116 in, above the center of the court for men's competition, and 2. After an observer, Alfred Halstead, noticed the volleying nature of the game at its first exhibition match in 1896, played at the International YMCA Training School, now called Springfield College, the game quickly became known as volleyball. It was originally spelled as 2 words, volleyball. The setter coordinates the offensive movements of a team, and is the player who ultimately decides which player will actually attack the ball. Setters need to have a swift and skillful appraisal and tactical accuracy and must be quick at moving around the court. Their primary responsibilities are to put up a well-formed block against the opponent's outside hitters and serve as a backup setter. A Spanish player, number 18 in red outfit, about to spike towards the Portuguese field, whose players try to block the way. In non-beginners play, every team will have two middle hitters. They are specialized in blocking since they must attempt to stop equally fast plays from their opponents and then quickly set up a double block at the sides of the court. Sets to the opposite usually go to the right side of the antennae. Similarly, teams might use a serving specialist to sub out a poor server. By aligning like positions opposite themselves in the rotation, there will always be one of each position in the front and back rows. It has been a part of the official program of the Summer Olympic Games since Tokyo 1964. 14. Has no passing duties and is preparing for a back row hit on the right side of the field. The setter usually stands about 2/3 of the way from the left to the right of the net and faces the left, the larger portion of net that the setter can see. Back court, or back row, an attack performed by a back row player. Side out. 1990, a law student goes to California and ends up playing professional volleyball. View source. Quick hit /1, an attack, usually by the middle blocker, where the approach and jump begin before the setter contacts the ball. A match was composed of 9 innings with 3 serves for each team in each inning, and no limit to the number of ball contacts for each team before sending the ball to the opponent's court. When the ball is not in play, the libero can replace any back row player, without prior notice to the officials. Rotation pattern. The serve-receive system is the formation used by the receiving team to attempt to pass the ball to the designated setter. As with passing, one may distinguish between an overhand and a bump set. Other rule changes enacted in 2000 include allowing serves in which the ball touches the net, as long as it goes over the net into the opponent's court. Beach volleyball, a variation of the game played on sand and with only 2 players per team, became a FIVB-endorsed variation in 1987 and was added to the Olympic program at the 1996 Summer Olympics. The game takes place in a volleyball court, and players work in pairs, holding towels in their hands and attempting to throw the ball into the opponent's field. It may also require calculating the best footwork to executing the perfect block. The Fédération Internationale de Volleyball has announced its plans to make snow volleyball part of the future Winter Olympic Games program. If a ball comes in contact with a line, the ball is considered to be in. Quick attacks are often effective because they isolate the middle blocker to be the only blocker on the hit. After service, the players in the front row move into their assigned positions, so that the setter is always in the middle front. Digging is the ability to prevent the ball from touching one's court after a spike or attack, particularly a ball that is nearly touching the ground. Highest governing body FIVB. The libero is a player specialized in defensive skills. The libero must wear a contrasting jersey color from their teammates and cannot block or attack the ball when it is entirely above net height. History. A line 3M, 9. Alessandro Fay, no. Under FIVB, Fédération Internationale de Volleyball, rules, 2 liberos are designated at the beginning of the play, only one of whom can be on the court at any time. Characteristics. Catching and throwing the ball. The first country outside the United States to adopt volleyball was Canada in 1900. 325 kg/cm2, 4. Main article, Volleyball variations. Palms are held deflected downward roughly 45-60 degrees toward the interior of the opponent's court. If one hand is noticeably late to touch the ball, this could result in a less effective set, as well as the referee calling a double hit and giving the point to the opposing team. Typical volleyball action. In the early 1900s, Spalding, through its publishing company American Sports Publishing Company, produced books with complete instruction and rules for the sport. Since most sets to the outside are high, the outside hitter may take a longer approach, always starting from outside the court side line. By contrast, it is called a defensive, or soft block if the goal is to control and deflect the hard-driven ball up so that it slows down and becomes easier to defend. As with a set or an overhand pass, the setter/passer must be careful to touch the ball with both hands at the same time. 1 foot, divided into equal square halves by a net with a width of 1 meter, 39. 5 feet times 59. It is similar to water volleyball. Article 61 Sci. 294. After a team gains the serve, also known as siding out, its members must rotate in a clockwise direction, with the player previously in Area 2 moving to Area 1 and so on, with the player from Area 1 moving to Area 6. Team Member 6. These are in turn divided into 3 areas each. These are numbered as follows, starting from Area 1, which is the position of the serving player. Jump serve, an overhand serve where the ball is first tossed high in the air, then the player makes a timed approach and jumps to make contact with the ball, hitting it with much pace and topspin. Scoring differs between leagues, tournaments, and levels. High schools sometimes play best of 3 to 25, in the NCAA matches are played best of 5 to 25 as of the 2008 season. In addition, the word game is now referred to as set. In the 6-2 formation, a player always comes forward from the back row to set. A player stands behind the inline and serves the ball, in an attempt to drive it into the opponent's court. Media. The main goal of setting is to put the ball in the air in such a way that it can be driven by an attack into the opponent's court. Another aspect is to see the setter as an attacking force, albeit a weakened force, because when the setter is in the front court they are able to tip or dump, so when the ball is close to the net on the second touch, the setter may opt to hit the ball over with one hand. This serve was invented and employed almost exclusively by the Brazilian team in the early 1980s and is now considered outdated. A player from the serving team throws the ball into the air and attempts to hit the ball so it passes over the net on a course such that it will land in the opposing team's court, the serve. There are 5 positions filled on every volleyball team at the elite level: setter, outside hitter/left side hitter, middle hitter, opposite hitter/right side hitter, and libero/defensive specialist. A well-executed offensive block is performed by jumping and reaching to penetrate with one's arms and hands over the net and into the opponent's area. This replacement does not count against the substitution limit each team is allowed per set, although the libero may be replaced only by the player whom he or she replaced. Jump float, an overhand serve where the ball is tossed high enough that the player may jump before hitting it, similarly to a standing float serve. A volleyball court is 9 m x 18 m, 29. Causing the ball to touch the ground or floor outside the opponent's court or without first passing over the net. Blocking is also classified according to the number of players involved. Participation of transgender players. It varies from passing, however, in that it is a much more reflex-based skill, especially at the higher levels. Tools. Snow volleyball, a variant of beach volleyball that is played on snow. Topspin serves are generally hit hard and aimed at a specific returner or part of the court. Thus, one may speak of single, or solo, double, or triple block. The 3 front row players are all in attacking positions. Japanese-American women playing volleyball, Manzan are in Internment Camp, California, c. Contact none. Strategy. For the 2008 season, games were renamed sets and reduced to 25 points to win the ball. So the 6-2 formation is actually a 4-2 system, but the back row setter penetrates to set. This movement is called a dump. This action is only illegal if the server makes use of the screen, so the call is made at the referee's discretion as to the impact the screen made on the receiving team's ability to pass the ball. The game continues, with the first team to score 25 points by a 2-point margin awarded the set. The set is usually the second contact that a team makes with the ball. Changed to rally scoring in 2003, and several states implemented it the previous year on an experimental basis. Topspin, An overhand serve where the player tosses the ball high and hits it with a wrist snap, giving it topspin which causes it to drop faster than it would otherwise and helps maintain a straight flight path. A good setter knows this and thus won't only